That's yeah.
It's not behaving now. It's behaving like that. Before that, it does not. Yesterday, it wasn't. Okay lah. Now better.
Yeah, such is the life of an audio engineer, right?
Always when you want it to work properly, when you test, set everything is nice. Then when the actual thing comes, it's like not working.
Yeah.
Here we are, man.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are. Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me here.
Yeah, so we sat down really earlier just now, over some nice Chinese Muslim food.
Some nice kway teow.
Yeah, and then, but you got your coffee also, man.
Yeah, I got courtesy of my wife.
Yeah.
Yep.
Super awesome. Who's sitting out there, by the way? Yeah.
Out there is my wife, Nia.
Yeah, big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out to her. She's like my biggest fan, my only fan.
Oh, come on, man. Yeah. Yeah. So, which is awesome, you used to be one of you did your internship. You were a former intern here at 2105.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, and then now you have progressed to be doing your own thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's been a journey actually. I think I was interning with you at I think in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I was actually a student in Singapore.
Yeah.
Studying at SAE Singapore, which is unfortunately now closed down.
Right. Yeah.
In 2014. But I remember thinking, even back when I was in Singapore, thinking I want to do my internship in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually my program didn't have an internship. It was just meant to be a fast-paced, accelerated program. So there wasn't actually an internship as part of the syllabus or as part of the course.
Right.
So I took the opportunity when I was doing my thesis to come back to Malaysia and do my thesis while also interning at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually, I don't know whether I told you this, but I actually had in mind that I wanted to approach you to do an internship. From even a few years before that, I already knew I wanted to come here. So because I grew up in Taman Tun, which is where your studio is located.
Mm-hmm.
So your studio has always been like the what do you call it? The example of a music studio. And of course, you were, Pop Shavit and JD Wong. Everyone knew him back then. Everyone knew you back then.
Back then.
So you were like the sound engineer that everyone wanted to work with or wanted to learn from.
Now I am a old, naggy, cranky sound engineer. I become the old grumpy sound man.
The old grumpy sound man. Yeah.
Remember there was this, was it a comic or some kind of a funny meme about the grumpy sound man?
I think this is a while back, right?
Yeah, while back, So, so now I'm ready, the old grumpy, cranky audio engineer already.
Well, maybe that's the fate of every sound man in the world.
Oh, hopefully not, Yeah. Well, I hope to be all of us, we'll get to do this until we are like, until the day we die or until the day where we cannot hear.
Until the day we cannot hear, that would probably be the thing. But I've yet to meet actually a sound engineer who's like properly retired. When I say properly retired, meaning they might be retired, but their love for audio tech and sound or music or basically audio engineering never dies. That passion stays with them the whole way through. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Do you know Roger Wang?
Is he in
He's
Sabah?
in Sabah, yeah. He's the very well-known guitarist, fingerstyle player also in his studio. So unfortunately, that has also just closed. I think last year also,
Ram Studio?
Ram, yeah.
Oh.
So,
Wow.
he also kind of went off and didn't do music production for a while. He was into his woodworking thing.
Right.
That's actually one of his hobbies and he's really great at it. He's just really good with creating and crafting stuff. So he was his side project, But, recently I think, he gets back the itch of doing things again lah.
You never lose it, do you?
You never lose it, yeah.
Well, he can actually put two and two together and be a luthier, like.
Oh yeah. He creates a lot of custom wood creations. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of it can be a guitar.
Could be. Yeah. Sweet man, awesome. So let's take it back, like, let's this is super casual.
All right.
The main thing that I always invite people that I get on my podcast, musicians, engineers, producers, because these are I would consider, these kind of people. We are kin, you see. We are brethren. We are born in the same family. We share the same passion, even though we maybe sometimes will diverge into different fields and different areas, which I'll get to later.
All right.
Right. So it's always good because I feel that doing this is cool to document everyone's story, and I personally also would like to get to know people better lah.
Right.
Because every time it's usually in the confines of the working environment.
Yeah,
We're in a session, we're working on projects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just getting to sit down, hang around, and just chit chat over stuff, and to get to know each other. It's a luxury, man. Yeah,
It is
so
actually.
it's good. Yeah.
This is a very casual setting compared to how we would normally meet each other as well. Maybe collaborating on a project.
Yeah.
Recording music in your studio.
Yep.
Let's say,
It's always more work.
It's always more work oriented.
Yeah.
Or we meet at maybe one of the those audio related like AES.
Audio related events.
Events and stuff like that. So this is new to me as well. I think this is the first podcast I've ever been on.
Hey, yeah. Let there be more, man. Yeah.
Very
But
interesting.
I think it's also great because, I love to hear these stories, and then, I want to document them because it can be something, a resource for future, the future generation of audio engineers to come in and to listen to how everyone's journey is. How did they get into audio? How did they get into music? And what is the sort of the career path that is out there. So that's a great place to start then.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So tell me more, like how where did you grow up? What your education was?
All right.
And music wise.
All right. Okay. So growing up, where I grew up in KL.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I've actually moved like probably 7 times in my life, so I can't really tell where I'm from because I was from Klang, and then I went to Kepong, and I went to a different part of Kepong, I came to Tamantun eventually.
Yeah.
And I spent 10 years. So I spent my high school, most of my youth was spent in Tamantun.
Yep. So TTDI.
Yeah,
The TTDI. Geng Kayangan TTDI.
Kayangan, yeah. So I'm part of that TTDI,
The
TTDian,
The
I guess.
TTDI elite.
Yeah. But actually, while schooling TTDI, I was actually staying in Sri Damansara for the most part of it during the early days. And so I associate myself with Damansara a lot. And yeah, that's how I grew up. And for love of audio, it stemmed from music. I think a lot of us are like that. I made my career mostly in post-production.
Yeah.
But it all started out in music. And I've met a lot of people, colleagues and peers, and so many people from the industry who echo the same story.
Yep.
Music started it all off. And yeah, I don't know what to say about music. I mean, I think everybody has that same passion and feel for music. It's a part of life that it inspires, it motivates, it brings people together. It's one of the most emotional, one of the things that you can have the most emotional connections with.
Exactly,
I feel.
man. Yeah.
It's so unique in what it is in its form. So I was very inspired by music growing up, and I think I was like 14 years old when my younger brother actually decided to take bass lessons. And I was like, being the middle child, I was like, I can't get left out. My younger brother's going to take bass lessons. I need to learn an instrument. So then I went and learned guitar just because my younger brother was learning an instrument.
Yep.
And I found that the guitar really resonated with me. Like, aside from the fact that the guitar literally resonates. It actually
Yes,
literally resonates.
I saw what you did there.
Yeah. But yeah, I just fell in love with the guitar. And I was playing classical for the longest time. Only classical. I don't know why, because all my friends were like jamming to like Hendrix, and back then I was like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, Iron Maiden, all that Guns N' Roses.
Did you go for music lessons?
I did actually, but specifically classical guitar.
Mm.
I didn't touch electric guitar till I was maybe like 20. So I was playing like classical all the way through.
Yeah.
And it was the only form of like guitar playing I knew. And I don't understand why, because everyone else was like being in a band and saying like, let's play electric guitar, it's cool. You know, we need to solo like Slash and play Sweet Child of Mine 20 times a day. And I was like, no, I actually kind of enjoy this classical music. So and I stuck with it all the way to grade 8, miraculously. Completed my grade 8, and then ironically after that moved on to electric guitar. Because I found like I really love the freedom of playing electric guitar, improvising, and when you start to branch out of classical guitar, you can really, after a while, classical music started to feel like I appreciated it and all, but I really wanted to create my own things. Like you know, everyone has some form of creativity.
Yeah.
I would like to think so. I was able to explore it more with electric guitar in my hand. And
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually I found like effects, and I became one of those shoegaze guys who had like tons and tons of pedals on my pedal board.
Yeah. We had fun experimenting when you guys did the recording. All the pedals and effect stuff. That's always the fun. It's something that all guitarists can geek out over.
Yeah, you just geek out on it. You can play one chord and have it on loop and just mess around with effects, tonal, spatial, and all types of stuff. It can keep you going for days on the C chord maybe.
Yeah,
on the open position C chord.
So you picked up guitar starting at about 14.
Yeah.
And you're in your mid-teens, then moving on to electric in 20. When did you feel like that besides just being something that was for fun, that it could potentially be something that's serious, could lead to something serious?
Right. I think that would be after high school, when I wanted to probably make a career as a musician, as a recording and performing musician. I think it just came naturally. Just my passion for music and for the guitar was so strong that I felt like, no, this is probably my calling, and this is the only thing that's was the only thing that was appealing to me. Actually, I just wanted to focus on music. Just loved it so much, So I thought, okay, there's no other way for me. I have to do something with music. I have to make a career out of it, and I have to make a living out of it, and I have to chase this passion. I would have it no other way. That's what I thought when I was growing up.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually enrolled into SAE in Singapore, as I mentioned earlier. And the funny thing is, I actually fell in love with audio production. Because as an audio engineer, there are many forms of audio engineering, many fields or many aspects of it. And while I first thought that music was my only path and the path that I was dead set on, I started to take a liking for the technical sides of it. Like, started to geek out on the equipment and the science of it and the technology of it, and
being in a studio.
Being the studio, yeah. On the other side of the glass.
Of the glass, yeah.
Yeah. So I started to take more liking towards the engineering side. And yeah, I think being in Singapore was what changed. Going through the course, my diploma, and eventually my degree, I realized that I really have a knack for the technical sides of audio. It wasn't even music at that time anymore.
Yep.
It's like all encompassing audio.
Yes, yeah.
Because as an audio engineer, we specialize in a lot of things, but we are also quite generalist. You can throw an audio engineer into most situations, different forms of audio engineering work, whether it's post-production or music or live sound, location sound. And they'll probably do a decent job. They'll probably survive because they know what they're doing. It's just, the rest is just what you how often you do it,
and what your preferences
what
are.
your preferences is.
It's like, I share exactly the same sentiment, starting off with music, you see. Yeah, music was wow, everything it's gotta be music, so I want to enroll inside in the music school as well. But like you, I also kind of gravitated towards the technical and the the actual creation of the music itself lah. Then it's like hey, it's more than just playing the guitar, being on stage.
Yeah.
Just it's kind of cool being in a studio, and
handling all this
mixing
equipment
and doing
gear.
all this.
Yeah.
I could do this. I don't have to go for sound check. Don't have to, don't have to rehearse. Don't have to share the stage with stinking band members. I can just be all by myself, right, in the studio. But so. But eventually, of course, in the end, we still have to work with people also lah.
Yeah, that's one part of audio engineering you cannot escape. It's like to have a career in audio engineering is to be collaborative, to work with people.
Yeah,
because
no man is an island. You can't be doing everything by yourself lah.
Yes.
Yeah, unless you're those outliers, those oddities who just do everything on their own. But for massive things, for a lot of things, you need to collaborate with people. You need to work in teams. Yeah. No one can have all the knowledge and all the skills to do everything. Somewhere down the line, you will need some other people who are good at another thing and get these people involved. And I don't know about you. For me, I think that's even more. There's more beauty in that, because you're getting the whole involvement of people, of other folks around you, and people bringing their ideas, bringing their expertise, and all that.
It's really collaborative, and actually it gives you a new perspective. And it's the best way to learn, actually, to collaborate with people who have specialties in other aspects of audio. You actually learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
That way, as opposed to being an island, as you said. And relying only on yourself and your perspectives and your vision.
And I've loved this phrase quite a lot. Is that is to place yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you want to be in a place. You want to be amongst people who are smarter than you.
Okay, that's a good one.
I like that. So I always so it puts us always at a place where we are learning, where we are, where we can learn from others, and we can learn from people who have different skills, and all that. So, because if you think that you're the smartest, you're the best, you're the number one, you're top already, then what?
Yeah, there's no room to grow.
Yeah,
right?
It's all downhill from there, man. Yeah.
And there'll always be someone, there's the old saying, right? There's always someone smarter than you.
There is.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is, man. Yeah.
In America, they'll say there's always an Asian smarter than you, right? But we're Asians, so there's still another Asian smarter than us.
There's another Asian who is more Asian.
He's more Asian than us. So,
man. Well, we've got the Asian entitlement, so we can make this kind of jokes. Okay.
So
okay.
This is just us being Asians. This is what it means.
Yeah. Why is Singapore, by the way? I'm kind of curious.
Okay. In all honesty, I just wanted to come out and work as fast as possible. So in Malaysia back then, actually probably still now, not too sure, but a diploma, an MQA accredited diploma had to be about 2.5 years, 2 to 2.5 years to 3 years, and then a 2-year degree. So I thought, I could spend X amount of money and spend about 4 to 5 years doing a diploma and a degree, or I can actually spend a little bit more money and do a 1-year diploma and 1-year degree and come out and work faster and make back that money and kick off my career even faster. So I thought, I did the maths and I thought about it. Back then, Singapore was not, the currency exchange was not as large as it is now. It was like 2 to 1 or 2.1 to 1. So it was still somewhat affordable. So I thought I would value that time that I have, that 3 years ahead of everyone else to then come out younger and, because audio engineering is a profession where you kind of have to start from the bottom. It's not meant to be demeaning. It's just that it's a very technical driven profession.
Yeah, man.
So you kind of have to feel your way around. You have to learn the ropes and everything like that.
You gotta be rolling cables and making the coffee first.
All those experiences matter. As much as people think that's it might be demeaning or they look down upon that kind of roles. It's what makes you an audio engineer.
Yeah.
So I thought if I can do that earlier in my life and save some time, I would. But I didn't expect that when I got there, the quality of education was amazing. I mean, I would suggest anybody. But if SA Singapore didn't close down 2014, I would actually be like personally delivering people to that unit, to that college.
I think in Singapore now, I know someone who I know a friend of mine who is at Raffles. Raffles
yeah.
has a music production course or something like that. Yeah. There's one or two lah. Yeah. So but I was very because I think you're the only person who now the other person lah. But back then, you were the only one who took that career, that path to study in Singapore and then coming back and then hearing your rationale and the reasoning for it is like, I would have never thought of that. I think no one else would have ever thought of that because we all go through the usual motions and the usual pathway lah. Foundation year here, then another 1-2 years to get the diploma, and then another extra year to get the degree. I think that is kind of the path
that's normally set, right? Like, you
exactly.
just go through it because everyone else goes through that as well. So you think like, 5 year for a diploma and a degree is just normal. It's fine.
But the way that they fast tracked it must have pretty intense in terms of the class.
It was pretty intense. We hardly had time to do anything else but to study. Forget taking part-time jobs because back then you were prohibited from taking part-time jobs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I still got around that, but I'm not gonna get people in trouble by saying how I got jobs in Singapore back then.
Statute of limitations, man. This is like things that happened more than 10 years ago. So the Singapore government can look for you again.
Yeah, but I had a lot of good people around me and very supportive. But as you mentioned, it's not normally the case.
Yeah, it's very unusual. The only person that I know that has gone that route, you see, and then come back. But which it's a smart thing, lah.
Yeah.
It actually I think you're right. If you take 3-4 years to finish your degree, compared to someone who's got a year extra ahead of you, you are already having the one who took longer is already at a disadvantage.
Exactly.
There's a lot you can achieve when when even though you're still studying lah. And I think that was great, you see. Yeah. I didn't wait. I'm not sure whether I told you the story. So I also didn't wait till I graduated until I finished to only start exploring and start doing ship.
Right.
I was like, when it was my second year, I was already going out,
and
looking for jobs and opportunities, knocking on doors. And I was fortunate enough, there was a freelance producer that took me on as an engineer.
Right.
So during the third year, when all your classmates were still studying and still doing that, I was already getting paid to engineer, getting paid to session.
Right.
And before I even graduated, already mixed my first album.
Wow.
So it's like, oh wow, okay, still a student. Wow, but I mixed one album already.
Wow, that's an amazing story. But I didn't know that, but that's an amazing story.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right lah. Time is precious lah. Time is precious, and the sooner you get your feet wet, and get into get into action and all that, that can give you a big advantage lah.
Yeah, it's definitely give. Because right now actually, just as a before I get into the topic of what I'm gonna talk about, is I also lecture.
Yes. Exactly. So, you also teach at
I teach at Ocean Institute of Audio Technology, and I used to lecture at Aswara. And so circling back to that about the education part, I always tell my students that I'm a bit worried sometimes about how competitive it is for graduates, because if you don't stand out, if you don't take the initiative to learn beyond just in academic level, but you have to actually like what you said, get your feet wet.
Yep.
You have to make all these initiatives. Very rarely do people do it for you. You have to actually find your way. It's almost part and parcel of surviving in this industry.
Yeah.
You have to be independent. You have to be somewhat street smart, good in networking. You have to feel your way around. You have to do that. So if you just rely on coming out with a diploma or a degree, there are hundreds of graduates out there, maybe more, from so many different institutes. You know, you got your Limcock Wings and your ICOMs and your Sunways and your Oceans and Aswaras.
Yeah, Ocean, Aswara, MSU. There are a few
MSU
other,
as well now,
also has, yeah.
So you have to stand out somehow, you know. And very rarely is it that people notice you just because of something that you don't like. No one will notice you if you don't do anything.
Yep.
You have to make that first step.
Exactly.
As a student, as a graduate, as someone who's a budding audio engineer wanting to break into the industry, you have to have that extra edge about you.
You know, it's the saying, like, you know, the cream rises to the top, lah. You know, so if you're out of the whole sea, the whole field of students who are graduating every year, right? Let alone every semester, and with the limited number of jobs that exist in the first place, you know, who are the ones who are going to stand out? Only the ones who are, you know, exceptional, lah. Yeah. Those who really, you know, go out there, stand out of the crowd, lah.
Yeah, because another, I won't say it's a worrying thing. I just think it's part and parcel of this industry is that most studios are not operated by like a 50-man. Doesn't have a 50-man capacity. Most studios are maybe 10 and or below.
Yep.
The studio I used to work in was maybe 15 engineers, and that's considered a large studio
yes.
for a private sector. Let's not talk about broadcast stations and government. But for a private studio, 15-man operation is large in Malaysia.
Exactly.
And then we scaled to the independent studios and stuff like that. And I'm in post, so post naturally has a larger team, many aspects. But music studios, how many engineers can one music studio fit in Malaysia? And do those engineers ever retire? You know, like to make space for. So there's not a lot of jobs out there.
Oh no, that's so depressing. even for me, it's like, when will I get to retire? I want to retire, you know, but I can't. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit worrying, and I think, but I don't mean to scare anybody. Again, I say this to my students not to scare them. It's almost to do the opposite, to try to inspire them to wake up and, you know, make the first step. And, you know, if that's the situation, you want to be an audio engineer, you know what you're getting yourself into. Or at the very least is you should try to find out what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
And if you do want it, persist and make the effort.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I think, like, you know, many of them get in because they think that, because I love music and because it's cool. Then really, you know, the reality, the fact of the matter hits you right in the face. It's like, oh no, you know, I spend all this money, my parents' money. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna make myself out of it? You see? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a huge, it's a lot of capital actually becoming an audio engineer.
Yeah.
All these little things add up, and I won't even call them little things because, you know, if you purchase a set of speakers, they're not such little things.
Yeah.
An 8-inch cone and stuff like that. But it is quite an investment. Even to be a bedroom producer, you're looking at investing at maybe about 5-10K if you're thinking about
closer to 10. I think.
Closer to 10
software all
software,
that stuff.
you know, studio desk, speaker stands.
Even small things like cables and all that accessories mix
add up to a lot.
A lot, you know. Yeah.
Like one Neutrik connector, if you go to Jalan Pasar, it's about 12 ringgit if you buy the original one, not the China Neutrik. For some reason those are cheaper. So yeah, it's not a cheap profession.
Yeah. So okay, let's cycle back. Right.
Yeah.
So before, so after you were here in 2010, 2011, right?
Yes.
And 2010, 2011.
Early 2011, went back to Singapore.
You finished it. Yeah, you finished your studies there. What did you do after that? You know, either I forgot or, you know, or maybe I don't know.
So when I was interning here in 2010, I still had my mindset on music, and I was But when I went back to, so I actually did still want to have a career in music production. But when I went back to finish my studies, a job vacancy opened up in a dubbing studio. The last place I thought I would end up. Dubbing or localization is basically the practice of taking for international content and localizing it to the local language, like Bahasa Malaysia or Bahasa Indonesia or any form of local language. So it's called localization, but in Malaysia we simplify it, we call it dubbing.
Yeah.
So a job vacancy opened up.
You know you're the real deal. We know you're the real deal when you use the word localization, because that's the real term.
That's the real term, right?
Yeah.
We look down upon people who say dubbing. No, just kidding. So a job vacancy opened up in a company called Ayuno. And back then, Ayuno was still pretty new.
Yes.
They had maybe 2 engineers before me. And I was young at the time, and I needed money. I wanted, the whole point of like doing a 2-year, 1-year diploma, 1-year degree is to get started in my career faster, so I can start earning my money. So it opened up in KL, and I thought, I'm just gonna take the first opportunity that comes my way, and the pay was pretty decent actually for a fresh grad in Malaysia at that time. This was 2011.
Care to share how much was that?
Well, since this is a long time ago, 10 years back, the pay was about 3,003,
which is really good actually for
a fresh grad.
Very good for a fresh grad.
Yeah.
I don't think you can even get that now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait a minute, I'm still very young, and I potentially go back to Malaysia and earn decent money. I mean, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I submitted my resume. I flew, back. I didn't fly, but I took a bus back to Malaysia. I went for the interview, and I got hired, thankfully. Was pretty. The interview was pretty interesting as well, and it's not the first time it happened to me where I actually had to work on during my interview. They actually tested me by throwing me into an actual live session, and seeing whether I could, basically throwing me into the deep end and seeing if I could float.
Yeah.
And thankfully I did.
Yeah.
I float. I swam. So they hired me. But that's not the first time. Even when I was in Singapore, when I was looking for a job, this is really strange. I forgot the name of the studio, but I went in to look for a job, and they said, they looked at my CV and they said, okay, we would be interested to hire you, but we have an artist coming in an hour. Do you care to record her? And I was like, but I don't work here yet. But so I'm gonna doing this job. It's a real artist, a real job. Yeah. And then they're like, yeah. Do you want to do it? Do you care to do it? And if they ask you, do you care to do it? And you say no, of course they're not gonna hire you.
Or you ask, how much am I getting paid?
But when you're a student, these things, they start to, you don't think about it. So I did it. Studio I've never been to before, and they were using Reaper. My first experience with Reaper. So I managed to record the entire song, vocalist for that song, and they still didn't hire me because they tried to.
Yeah.
But back then there was a quota in Singapore where you had to have 3 CPF contributing Singaporeans to one international,
non-Singaporean.
And they had a studio of like 6 people, and the owners were foreign, so they didn't have enough locals,
right?
in order to hire
me. It was a quota.
It's a quota thing. So it was a strange one.
So they
scammed
you out of a free session.
Yeah. Well, but
that's a cool story, man. That's a very cool story.
But it did force me to, it gave me it opened my eyes to the nature of the industry sometimes, that there are people like this who will, every industry there are people who will take advantage of young people.
Yeah.
But
now, I don't think it was really that do you think they really was taking advantage, or they just,
I'm not too sure, but either way, I have no hard feelings about it. I actually find it quite amusing looking back on it.
Yeah.
Because in a way, it kind of signaled to me like, okay, this industry, you got to be on your feet at all times to be able to survive in here. Because if this is how interviews are conducted, I need to be ready all the time.
Yeah. I mean, the Bob Clearmountain, right? Bob Clearmountain, he also had this similar situation. The studio where he was working with, he was just like it was his first day of working there. he, usually same like, so you got to start being a runner first, being an assistant, going to roll cables, get the coffee and all that. His story is that on his first day at work, the engineer that was supposed to handle the session, didn't show up, didn't turn up. And I'm trying to remember which, but it was a very big jazz artist.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember who was it? It escapes my mind lah.
Instrument or singer?
It was jazz, no instrumental. Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw some names like Miles Davis or
no, not Miles Davis. Not that old.
Not that old.
Not that late. Yeah. But anyway, so that was his story lah. He's like, huh? So he ended up engineering, on that session, being literally thrown into the deep end. Yeah. So
that's a good story.
Yeah, that's it's not the only story. I think I've heard a lot of stories of the really great engineers and great mixers who have something similar one. They're like, one day, something happened and then I was supposed to record for Bruce Springsteen and then the engineer didn't show up or something, or the engineer got fired, then I had to, no one was around. And then there's these kind of stories,
Actually, circling back to that, it happened to me again.
Again?
Yeah. I went to record. This was actually around the time I was interning with you. I thought I want to double up on experience. So I actually went to a studio in Damansara Perdana, which is now closed. And I actually went not for internship. I wanted to record my band because someone told me that their rates are competitive and stuff like that. But it's more so that I wanted to ask, just inquire actually about the rates. I didn't actually want to record there yet. I just went upstairs to inquire about rates. And just so happened that the engineer was walking out of the studio, like walking out on the studio. So he packed his stuff and he left right in front of me. And then the studio owner saw me and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, say, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm just here to ask about rates. Like, how much do you charge to record?" And he's like, "Oh, we charge this much. But now we don't have an audio engineer and I have a band coming in to record a song at like maybe in an hour or so, half an hour or something like that." Then I'm like, "Oh, that's really unfortunate." And he looked at me like, "What do you do?" It's like, "I'm an audio engineering student." Get in there. Then I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. And no, I'm curious. What's the name of the place? The studio?
Sonic Velocity.
Okay, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was Damansara Perdana.
Right.
So
that name does not ring a bell lah.
Yeah, it's nearby to. What's that?
Do you remember
Mom's
who
Kitchen?
That area?
That area.
Okay, yeah. But do you remember who the owner is? You
You
don't have to mention him, so maybe someone I can reach out to verify the story. Whether
was Dato actually.
Oh, okay. Those private studios.
Yes.
Hang on a second. Yeah, now it starts to ring a bell. I think. Okay. All right. The story starts to ring a bell now because now you say Bandar Sri Damansara. I think I know.
No, Bandar Sri Damansara.
Sri Damansara.
Damansara Perdana.
Damansara Perdana. Okay.
Damansara Perdana. Yeah.
Okay. The name starts now. Now it starts to ring a bell. Okay, right.
Yeah.
This one we will investigate.
We'll investigate later.
Investigate off the record.
Off the record, yeah. So and that was my first experience with Logic Pro. I didn't use Logic Pro, and all of a sudden, like they were using Logic Pro, and then I had to. Oh my god! So what now? So I had to go and like set up the studio and check where does all the signal routing go to. This band's coming in, and my band themselves are waiting downstairs, waiting for me to get a code. Then I went back down. They're like, "So how much did they charge?" I didn't find out. But I got a job. And then they're like, "What?" Like, yeah, they're hiring me for this session. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to ask about studio rates, and now I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know why these situations happen.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's so hilarious. That's funny. Man.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But that was just a one-off thing lah.
It was a one-off thing. Yeah, it became a one-off thing because I was still a student, and was it after I was interning with you, or actually it might have been while I was interning with you during that time. So I had other commitments as well, and I didn't want to take on too many things at one time.
Yeah.
and it was a strange experience. But actually, the recording session went well. All
Right.
things
I
considered.
didn't hear.
I hope
Yeah.
it went well.
I hope. Hopefully,
Yeah.
maybe one day we will meet that band or members of the band. Then they'll tell the story. Oh, this last time there used to be this engineer.
Doesn't know what he's doing. Like he looks like
No.
a fresh grad.
Yeah, but that is a really fascinating story, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that at all. Yeah.
It's a strange one. I rarely
Mm.
tell that to people as well
Mhm.
because sometimes you just forget like
Yeah.
like these things happen.
Yeah. It's what, so long ago, man. 12 years ago.
About 12 years
Yeah.
ago, yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
So
So what happened after that? Yeah, you
so
got Ayuno after.
yeah, so from the point I got to Ayuno, then Ayuno is a total 180 away from music.
Yeah.
So Ayuno is more towards post-production.
Yep.
And very specifically towards localization or dubbing for
Mm.
content. So there I learned something different. I learned to work in an organization that's not just your standard studio, but it's a bigger, larger operation because we were getting jobs from Korea. It's a Korean company. So we were getting like all this broadcast content from Fox, from Nat Geo, from Disney, from we were working on stuff like NCIS and Criminal Minds, all this things that normally will air on AXN and Fox.
All those network cable
Network cables,
syndicated shows.
yeah. Like a lot of them. I think I ended up doing like 600 over episodes in a year or something. So, but what I really appreciated about that job is actually you build a lot of speed. Doing dubbing is all about speed and skill. And when you're an engineer during that time, you had to also direct the voice talents because they come in so quick. It's like really like touch and go. They come in and one voice talent can voice 5 actors, and then they'll go and then they'll do another episode and then they'll come. In a day, you finish recording an entire episode a day.
Yep.
So you have to be really quick and you have to be really decisive and you need to know how to direct people. Actually, how to direct these voice actors. They can do their job really well, but you are the final say. There's no one else sitting behind you. If they don't get it right, you don't get it right, it doesn't come out right. So you had to learn to be really decisive, learn about the content, about the program, what it means, about story, very quickly pick these things up and build your speed. So that I appreciated my time over there because of that. It's a bit more factory work, the type of work it is.
Production line,
more repetitive and it's dry compared to what we normally do more creatively. But I think it actually helped me a lot to look at that side of the industry. So after that, so it was during that time that I met my friend named Chong Yu Fu. So he was actually the supervisor of that studio. And when I used to have lunch with him, he used to tell me that he used to do location sound. He used to be on set recording the dialogues for film sets and documentaries and series and stuff like that. I got really inspired by his stories because he was telling me how he travels and meets new people all the time, and the adrenaline of just being on set, how it's like working with the gear, working with cameras, working with lights, seeing the set design. It's the whole movie magic happening in front of your eyes. And I was really inspired by that story. So after I actually went straight into freelancing. And I did so for another like 4 years on my own. And that time I was about 22 or 23. And I started freelancing and with Yufu, my friend at the time. So the two of us actually became partners in location sound. So we went and we did movies and we did documentaries and we did series and we traveled everywhere and we were, I was pretty happy that time, like to find myself in location sound. And that's when I started to fall in love with movies, with audio not audio post production, but filmmaking in general. The whole process, because being a part of it, it's a whole different ballgame. A lot of people don't actually know about location sound.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the least
underappreciated.
That's no exposure.
Unsung,
and no one teaches it in college or in university. It's never a subject that comes up.
Exactly.
A lot of people actually learn it by just being on set. So the same stories will entail like you have to be there and roll a cable and then be someone's assistant before
the boom operator.
Or if you're a PA, you have to get coffee for people. Literally have to get coffee. That's your job. To get coffee for people when you're like assistant PA and stuff like that. And eventually you get to do more important stuff. But this one is important because it's a very physical job. And there are a lot of things on the line where you cannot have so much technical issues that the actor has to do their scene 3 times. Or do up to 20 takes for a scene because of technical issues. They will not tolerate that. No actor, no production will ever tolerate that. You won't get hired. So the whole point is like, can you sustain a career where you can be hired for the next job? And the only way to get a job is by word of mouth. So how well you perform and stuff like that. How I got into it, so it's a bit funny story. Like not funny, but so again, like you know that famous saying by what's Virgin Airlines? What's his name again?
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson. I think he said something like, if an opportunity comes your way, take it first and learn to do it later.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So that's
Well, we'll have to fact check it later.
Yeah, we have to
I don't have a like
yeah,
the
fact
pro podcast. They have someone to fact check the thing for you right away. Don't have that for the moment. So disclaimer. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first job that came my way for location sound was actually a RTM series. And I did not do location sound. I was either have a background in music with my time with you or in dubbing. Yeah, and that's more into post-production. That's studio work.
Yeah.
So I'd never been out in the field. I didn't know how to hold a boom mic. I didn't know how to mic up actors with lavalier mics. I didn't know how to work with cameras. I didn't know how cameras record, how to send audio to camera and do wireless UHF systems and stuff like that, and set up antennas. You know, it's a whole world of. So, but I took the job. It came my way. My friend Yufu gave it to me. He said like, you know what? Why not just throw yourself in the deep end and try it? And I'm like, okay. So I did it. So I went to for that job. I took it, and I think they paid me something like 200 a day, which is for location sound. That's it's standard for TV series, but it's a bit on the low end for what you want to charge for bigger projects. It's actually quite on the low end. And I just pretended like I knew how to do it. Like I just acted like I've been on set for a lot of times. I did a lot of research. You should never go for any of these things without any prior research.
Correct. You know, if people are watching this and listening, they have to know that it's not that you just
it didn't magically happen.
No. You know, when I'm sure you read up, you researched a lot. You know,
asked a lot of questions. By then I was kind of technically sound already. Having experienced some diversity in audio. So signal flow was very strong. And, I could already do a lot of things with different audio gears, and you know, I understood audio quite well at the time. So I got in there, and they didn't know it was my first day. I started the day, I did the best I could. The day ended, and no one could tell that it was my first ever day on set. And they hired me after that to do the whole series and the series after that. And then my career started from there. I was actually I started out in the Tamil industry because that was the first crew I worked with.
Right, yeah.
And they gave me the opportunity, so I kept doing more and more involved in the Tamil industry before I branched out to do other things. So again,
that's what, 4 years? 4 or 5 years?
I think I did that. Well, I'm still doing location sound now, actually. So I don't know when to put a stop to that freelancing. When I did stop freelancing, but let's just say it went on for about 4 or 5 years, where
that phase lah.
That phase of doing location sound. And then I got into lecturing.
This is 2015.
15 to 17. 2015. Yeah, I was still doing location sound, but I became a part-time lecturer in Ocean Institute. So obviously, I have a love for teaching.
Oh yeah.
And academia. And Ocean was kind enough to give me a chance, to give me a shot. Shahrizal, the CEO of Ocean.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
Okay, right.
Yeah, he's still there. He's still doing well. He's doing very well.
Okay.
He's keeping Ocean going.
Yep.
Keeping Ocean afloat. No pun intended, but No, but he's
Yeah.
I really look up to him.
You're forgiven. It's okay. Audio engineers all have the worst,
The worst punchlines.
punchlines and all the bad audio and studio jokes.
That only we understand.
Yeah,
That only we get.
that again. Yeah. Well, Ocean, if I'm not mistaken, Ocean was is the oldest
Yes, it's one
audio school in Malaysia.
in Malaysia. Yeah.
Mm.
I think it was started by Mike Blumendal
Mhm.
many years ago. Was it? Well, I have to fact check what
Yeah,
year exactly.
But it's long time.
It's been a long time, yeah.
Mm.
I think it was before SAE as well.
Before,
if
if I'm not mistaken.
The
Before.
one in Jalan Ampang, right?
I don't remember
don't remember
exactly. I also
specification,
don't remember.
Because when I was teaching there, it already moved to Sri Damansara.
Yep,
Yeah.
correct. Mm.
So
So you taught there?
I taught there. I taught.
Well, what do you teach there?
I ended up teaching 5 subjects over there. I taught digital audio,
Mhm.
acoustics, live sound,
Mm-hmm.
synthesizers, and a subject called advanced production techniques, which is basically a little bit of everything thrown in.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of post, a little bit of music business.
Yeah.
So that one's more on the 5th semester.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So
How long do you teach there for?
I thought I still teach there.
Still teach there
I still
lah,
teach
yeah.
there until today.
Yeah.
But I did stop for a while. Because I took full-time employment at Imaginex Studios
Yep.
in 2017.
Mm.
So from then, so then Imaginex Studios called me, which was also, I want to call this a funny story, but basically when I was, before I applied to be a lecturer, I actually wanted to try other things in post. I mean in audio, because I did location sound.
Yeah.
And I've covered some music, and I thought I want to do post. I want to do post production because I've been on my own for quite a while doing location sound. And by that time, my friend Yufu had passed away. He actually passed away like half a year into our venture into freelance.
Man, it's very sad to hear.
Yeah, it was very sad because he was 10 years older than me, so he was like a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he inspired me a lot. So I'm very lucky, very grateful to meet a lot of people who inspire me, like yourself, like Chong Yufu, like Sharizal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very grateful for meeting, having the opportunity to meet you guys. But okay, so after before I applied to be a lecturer, I actually applied to post-production houses.
Yeah.
And obviously I didn't have a lot of post experience because I've been doing location sound for so long. And one of the places was Imaginex Studios. And I remember the head engineer at that time, his name is Boon, or Shaidali Sheridan, we call him Boon.
Mm-hmm.
He interviewed me, and when I came in, he said that you're a very good dialogue editor. He said that to me. Then I'm like, am I? Because I didn't do post, so I didn't know that I was a good dialogue editor. And he said, how did you learn dialogue? I said, when I was on set all the time, I had curiosity because I needed to know what I deliver. Can people actually clean up this dialogue? Because it's always an achievement when you can use as much location sound as possible in the final picture of a movie.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to be very well sure that what I give to the directors and what I pass on to them and say this is usable is actually usable. But how would I know? I don't do post. So at night, after I used to come back from set after shooting, I would actually clean the dialogue myself, but never deliver those files because it's not my it's not my place to deliver clean dialogue. I mean, that's the audio post house job.
Yeah.
But I would just practice. I would learn to remove noise from dialogue by myself at night. I would do that at night after come back from set, even though I was really tired. You come back from a 14-hour shoot, a 16-hour shoot, you're really tired. But I had this drive about me. I just had this curiosity that I had to satisfy. So I ended up becoming apparently really good in dialogue editing. So when I finally met a post house, and he told me like, yeah, you're really good in dialogue editing. And I'm like, thank you. I didn't know. So
it makes absolute sense actually, because because like exactly for the reasons where you say lah, if you know how to deliver a good source, it makes the
whole process down the line.
Yeah,
There's a saying, right? Something like recording is how many percent of the something. Was it 70%? I forgot
Oh
who
yeah,
said
you
that.
know, I always quote that same thing also.
Was
you
it?
know,
Was it 70% or something like that?
well, something like that, lah, whatever
Some
lah.
high percentage.
It's not 70%. It is 71.56%. Okay, we gotta be precise
We'll
here.
be precise, all right? Like pi, right? You had to say like 3 points.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. You know, yeah.
Yeah.
You to deliver and your drive and dedication to deliver, and then obviously you did that. You did that voice editing and all that on your own because you also want to
Yeah,
satisfy your curiosity to know that what you're doing is
what I was passing on at the end of the day, the dailies or the rushes,
Yeah,
if you call it,
exactly.
to the director,
Mm-hmm.
I could say in full confidence that
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
can be fixed. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
It's
yeah,
like you
yeah,
can vouch for it.
yeah, you can
You were
vouch for it.
vouching for your
my work.
your work,
Yeah.
lah,
So in a way,
Yeah.
it's self-improvement as well.
Exactly.
And I encourage anybody who's an engineer to really focus on self-learning and self-improvement, because there are things that you can. Oh, my wife is still there. There are a lot of things that you can pick up in your studies or on the job.
Yep.
But there's like a plethora of information that's still yet to be, that everyone can tap into out there.
Yeah.
Information from anywhere.
You're in or for example, if you're in a class, you're in a class for what 2-3 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day it's all on you, you know?
Yeah, it's on you. You
Yeah.
have so much more opportunity for learning.
Yeah.
One way or another. It could be YouTube videos. YouTube videos these days are super informative, by the way.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's crazy. Like they have a tutorial for everything and a tutorial for that tutorial probably.
and the tutorial to how not to do a tutorial.
Yeah, how not to do tutorial.
And a reaction video to that tutorial.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a great way to learn because it's almost like infotainment.
Yes.
You're learning something at the same time. It's visually entertaining.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it makes it easier to. It's not so dry.
Yeah.
Unlike maybe when we were, our access to education back then or for information was a lot more
classroom, a lot of textbook based. Yeah. Yeah. The most entertaining stuff also was probably Mix Magazine or
oh my god,
that was the most closest thing to entertainment lah, you know.
Or like the Sound on Sound.
Sound on Sound, yeah, you know, yeah.
Yeah. So right now everything is so it's like interactive and it's information so easy to find.
A lot of information out there lah. Yeah, a wealth of it. Yeah.
So,
but like you said, you need to put it into practice.
Yeah,
you need to seek it out, and you need to and put it into practice so that you whatever head knowledge you can apply lah. You need to apply the knowledge.
Yeah, because to be an audio engineer, I'm sure you can testify to this as well. Is to almost be a Swiss Army knife sometimes. You have to actually almost anything and everything can go wrong. So there was once I had to even like solder while I was doing an event, just because that was the only cable I had. It was a specialty cable. It went down.
Wow.
You just solder on the spot.
Yeah.
So you have to know these things and you can't take it for granted. All these little things they build up and it's like Lego. All your experiences and all the knowledge you have.
All right. I'll confess to you, my soldering skills, sorry, okay? No, I cannot make it. All right. It's like, I never really got into that. It's like, I'll get someone else to do it. I just order and then custom make for B.
Well, there's nothing wrong there because I think that one's because I was interested in soldering. It's just how I got into it because I had to make cables for myself when I was a freelancer.
Yes.
And so Jalan Pasar became my playground to buy like connectors and wires and stuff because a lot of the cables weren't available yet in Malaysia. You had to buy it from BH Photo or something like that. It's simple stuff like the snake cables that split out to, let's say if you want to send an XLR to the audio recorder and then a 3.5 to a wireless unit to send to the camera.
Yeah.
At the same time, you need to also send like a split, maybe an inline jack in so you can listen back from the camera.
Yeah.
So all these things were very expensive to order. There's like specialty cables. So if you could actually make your own,
yourself,
though it might look really funny because you don't have the proper wire sometimes, so it might look like Frankenstein cable, but it saves you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
who's looking at on a set on a location? Who's looking? Hey, what are you using, man?
Yeah.
No one cares what you dress or whatever.
Yeah,
you know? Yeah.
I have a friend. His name is Chia Jijuan. JJ.
JJ, yeah, JJ.
He's
we know
always
JJ.
wearing like Megadeth and
Oh yes,
yeah, on
he
set.
always his band, his band
Yeah,
shirts.
he won't compromise his band shirts. Shout out to JJ.
Hey JJ,
Awesome dude.
right? Shout out, man.
Yeah, awesome dude. So yeah, where were we about? Yeah, so then I got into ImagineX
Yep.
studios, and ImagineX is where I got into post,
Yeah.
and I've been in post production, audio post production
Ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah. I've seen your you sent me your resume because you wanted me to give you back the reference letter, and I looked at it and it's like I had no idea you did so much stuff and all those movies, man.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. It's like, I'm super impressed, you see.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. But sometimes it is unfortunately for a lot of the post-production engineers, technical, because their names are always buried at the back of the credits. So
in the midst of thousand
names.
So
And then it scrolls past, and then you like you
don't notice.
you don't notice, you don't know it. Yeah. So, but I don't know. I feel that we need to give a little more of the spotlight should go towards people who are like what you do lah in post people who are doing the film, the sound, the film, because especially a lot of with the explosion of streaming and all the content and the series, you see that wow, all the great movies, I'm sure Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, that was awesome. Sound design and all those,
Yeah, the production quality of production level for say like Netflix and HBO is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, like for me, one of my favorites actually Queen's Gambit on Netflix.
Right.
And the sound, I know not a lot of people watch that and talk about the sound.
Yes.
But I absolutely love the sound, the dialogue the quality of the dialogue of Queen's Gambit. And so many. I mean, you can go on and on. Almost everything in Netflix sounds good, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it shows where people are really paying attention to the quality of sound in regards to content right now.
Yep. Exactly.
Because back then it's like, okay, you focus most of your energy into the movies.
Your movies.
The blockbusters and everything else. Yeah. But now everything starts to sound like a blockbuster.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so impressive.
Even the short films.
Yeah.
Even short movies, the
amazing sound.
production. Yeah.
Like,
so you have to up the game and
So but you touched upon something that there's not a lot of light shed on audio post production in Malaysia. It's not one of the more popular aspects of audio.
Yeah.
Because it's not, like you said, it's almost it's most of the time unseen because it's hidden behind the camera, the screen, right?
Yes.
So
I got a wonky cable over here. That's why.
With post production, we say among ourselves that if you can go into a cinema and watch a movie and come out and don't comment anything about the sound, we did our job.
Yes. Exactly.
It's an invisible art. Post production is an invisible art.
Yes.
So if you can come out and not say like, there's something wrong with that sound, we did our job.
Yeah,
job
exactly,
done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If the audience, if the viewer feels entirely immersed, that wow,
exactly.
I experienced being there in that movie or in that episode, right? It feels that way, lah. Yeah.
That's the keyword, immersion. That's what we aim to achieve. We try to make people not break out of that immersion so when they watch a movie, they're invested in that movie.
Yeah.
If the movie is meant to make them feel like you're in there with them, such as a war movie, say,
right.
You want to feel that you're actually in the battlefield, in the action, or you're in space, like Star Wars or that. We try our best to complement the picture, or actually to partner with the picture, so that people get entirely immersed, that their attention fully focused on the movie. They feel like they're in there and they don't break that focus.
Yeah. And
they come out experiencing the movie to its fullest.
Yes.
So that's the challenge of audio post production.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's a amazingly skilled craft, and it's an art, and really I give, hats off to everyone who does it. Hats off to you, hats off to everyone who does this, lah. It's something that's really, 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 really fascinating. Yeah, and incredible.
I mean, well, I have to give hats off to you as well because music is really incredible as well. But I guess
I just press the buttons, man. That's all I do. You know, the musicians do most of the magic. I just press the button and just sit back in my chair.
Well, at least you have buttons to
that's
press.
the secret.
I work mostly in the box, so I can't even pretend to press buttons because I have no hardware to press. But post production nowadays, especially in the studio that I used to work in, we operate mostly in the box.
Okay. All right. So that's a good segue to some of the technical stuff actually. So what's the stuff that you've worked on so far? Obviously, right, multi-channel, right? So everything from 5.1. What do you usually? What's the most common format you use now?
For immersive sound surround formats, the most common right now is 5.1.
Still 5.1.
Still 5.1. I know a lot of the industry is moving towards Atmos. Or hold on, sorry, dry throat. Especially Hollywood and
have a drink, man. Have your water, man.
Oh yeah, and my Starbucks.
It's now diluted already. Starbucks. It is not becoming ASMR video next after this. The sound of drinking water.
It's not a Pepsi commercial either.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what was I talking about?
That's another area which I also heads off lah. People who do the sound designers. That's
sound designers.
Yeah, that's also another one. Yeah.
The most common format for movies in Malaysia right now is still 5.1. Because there's not a lot of demand for Atmos currently, though we see it rising. Overseas, definitely they have incorporated Atmos into their setups. Partly because it's expensive. It's expensive investment.
Yep.
It's really expensive. Yes. You're talking about installing another 4 height speakers.
Yep. And plus the renderer, the Atmos renderer.
The Atmos renderer, but you can get the online the software one now. The Dolby Atmos production suite, the APS.
Yeah.
It's $399 if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah. Still Mac only though.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, but sorry, we sidetracked. We sidetracked. But actually, on the PC world, Nuendo can do it, and Cubase 12, which just came out. Hello, shout out Cubase. Cubase 12 also Atmos capable now.
Right. I think they incorporated it into
just Tony
Cubase and.
Because
Logic as well.
Yeah, Logic was the first DAW that had Atmos.
Yeah.
But before that, Nuendo actually was the one lah. Nuendo and Pro Tools lah. So for on my side, it was like, oh no, I got to make a big jump to Nuendo lah. Or not to say a big jump lah. It's a jump in terms of cost lah.
Yeah.
But just only Cubase 12 just came out last week and it has Atmos now. So it's like. Yes. So it's like, I can stick with the platform which I'm familiar with and have the tools to mix and produce stuff in Atmos lah. Yeah.
Actually, it's I think the barrier of Atmos right now, in my opinion, and from my experience, is that it's not just the cost, because it's not just the amount of speakers you have to buy. It's actually the interface as well that now have to accommodate for at least
128 channels.
Yeah. And aside from the hardware and software investments, the market, is it ready? Is the Malaysian market ready? Are we going to get jobs like every month saying that they want Atmos? So far, I've not seen that. So until we get the demand coming in, then we can people can justify there are a lot of places who have already upgraded for Atmos. And kudos to them, for wanting to catch that wave. And why not, right? If you can, if you have the capacity.
Someone needs to start,
like really kudos to them. I know, I think Maverick is doing Atmos now.
Maverick was the first one. Sci-fi has also, also gone Atmos. And if I'm not mistaken, it was either in the process already, B-Sync also.
Oh, B-Sync, so.
But the interesting thing is that actually two of them are more of actually music studios. It's not
actually
only Maverick's the one who's like the pure, who is mainly.
But they do music as well.
They do. So Maverick was the pioneer, the first one lah.
So it's good, I mean, I believe everybody would love to upgrade to Atmos.
Of course, I would love to, Yeah. You know.
Yeah,
Mm.
but it's
In
just
my sometimes in my dreams I'm
you imagine yourself doing Atmos.
I'm I'm dreaming that yeah, I'm doing an Atmos mix. Mm.
But for music, it's even costlier because you primarily have two speakers. We in post
Yeah,
already have six
yeah,
to start off with, so we are closer to achieving that that
yeah. You
ideal
just need
Atmos
to
room. The
add your
four
height,
there,
yeah, your height speakers.
and
Yeah.
maybe another to make it seven
Mm.
instead of
Yeah.
five.
Mm.
But yeah, so circling back, most
Mm.
of the time we are working in 5.1
5.1 lah.
and sometimes 7.1.
Okay. Yeah.
Rare occasions 7.1.
Mm.
I think Gardens of Evening Mist was, I can't recall,
Mm.
but was it Gardens? Yeah, I can't recall which one was 7.1.
Yeah. So all the stuff that you did lah, of those, the list of your discography. Are there any things that would be that you would say that you're proud that you did this? It doesn't have to be the films. It could be something that goes back to. Nah, no, not the dubbing days. It's like, I was proud of dubbing this. Now, so okay, let's keep it to narrow it down to maybe the films that you worked on. Which
Right.
were the ones that you felt like would you're very proud of the work. You would you would be that, hey, you would show your students, hey, this is something that you can learn from.
Right.
Like,
Wow. Okay. What? I
is
don't
it
know.
or is it because engineer you feel very like you don't want to blow your own horn and toot your own
Sometimes,
horn.
yeah.
And,
Sometimes
yeah.
I'm not very good at talking. Not very good with talking about myself.
Hmm.
To like what you said. So I don't know.
Yeah, but because I'm curious, I want to know as well. You
Yeah.
see, yeah, because I can learn a lot of stuff.
I
Hmm.
think if you ask me as a team, we in 2000, I think it was 2019, we won as a team, we won the best sound for or in Malay is best sound editing, but it's the highest award that you can win in Malaysia, equivalent to our Academy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
So we won best sound for movie for
Which awards was this?
FFM.
FFM. All right.
Yeah, this
Film Festival Malaysia.
Malaysia, yeah.
Yeah.
So we won for Pulang, the movie
Mm.
Pulang. I think that was that for me felt like a huge accomplishment because
Pulang was distributed by
Media Prima
Primeworks, right? Yeah,
Yes,
Primeworks. Yeah.
Primeworks. It was a good movie as well. And I think
Yeah.
one thing was, and I think Aubrey Sowito composed the score for that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but unfortunately he didn't win for it. I really thought he would have won because it was an amazing score. But yeah, I think with the movie itself, what the movie was. I don't know whether you've seen Pulang. I'm not sure.
Okay, I've got a real confession. I've almost never consumed local movies.
Oh, it's
which
fine.
I feel bad now because I do hear a lot of people do tell me, and you are telling me that it's like awesome, and yeah, maybe I need to light a fire under it and go and check out all these movies lah. Definitely lah.
Right.
Okay, I definitely will lah. Okay, yeah. Since you mentioned it, yeah.
Well,
So that
Pulang has a great story. I think Pulang's story is really inspiring and it's really moving.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really nice working on it.
The story I know because I've read
the premise,
the premise and all that. I've read that.
It's quite remarkable actually.
Yeah.
I think working on Garden of Evening Mist was pretty nice as well because we were working with a Taiwanese director.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Onsan did the score for that, right?
yes, Onsan did the score. Yeah. He was with us in Pinewood when we were finalizing the mix.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
And he was scoring up to the last minute. I think he was
because of changes or
creative changes happens all the time. So but he was pretty good. He was pretty good with all the changes needed.
Because I think for that, I think Onsen recorded some solo cello pieces
here, right?
Here,
yeah. Because I saw the studio in the credit list.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's in the credit list?
It's in the credit list.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Because obviously I was looking for my name, so I had to stay back until the end of the movie. Then as it went on, Studio 2105.
Oh,
Like,
okay, all right.
so I immediately thought like maybe some of the music was recorded here.
Some of the the cello, some of the solo instrumental parts.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
So we actually worked on the same movie.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. That's we can that's our claim. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I no idea now. Even more reason for me to go and check it out. Which sorry on Sun, I know you were good friend of mine, good friend of ours as well. Definitely go and check it out. Okay.
Yeah, but Gundam Evening Mist is very different than your conventional Malaysian movie because I think it's more targeted towards international. Well, the cast themselves are more international, but it's for me it's like a filmmaker's movie, like
right,
more for people who can appreciate movies. But it's a good one.
Yep, I'll definitely check it out lah.
Yeah.
What also? What else? Okay, let me kind of look at the list of stuff.
Sure.
Okay, we don't have to go through all of this. Like I said, it's super casual.
Yeah.
What do you use? What's primarily the DAW? What's the system that you use now? You mentioned in the box earlier.
Okay. I use Pro Tools like almost exclusively.
Yeah.
For the last 12 years, I think.
Yeah.
Well, except when I was interning here, and then I became a Cubase guy for a while, which I actually appreciated. Actually, it's second to Pro Tools. If I had to choose a DAW, I actually choose Cubase.
Yeah.
Because I actually really thought some of the functionalities of it really intuitive. Some things I think Cubase actually has the upper hand on, but every DAW has an upper hand on something.
Yes, exactly.
But the style of which I like to edit, probably more akin to Pro Tools and then Cubase as opposed to like Logic and so on.
Yep.
So
it's Pro Tools,
Pro Tools.
which is given I mean post
production and Pro Tools are like
given,
it's hand in hand.
Exactly.
It's been like that forever, right? So if you want to do post production, one way or another you'll end up being involved with Pro Tools.
Yep. The odd one out. I mean, in the minority, you probably sometimes you find Nuendo lah. Yeah.
And Logic actually, Supernova where I used to work in, most of them still use Logic. Logic Pro. In fact, I would say like 70% of the studio run on Logic Pro.
Interesting.
Only a handful of us use Pro Tools. So but so Logic Pro is also it's possible to do post production in Logic Pro. It's a bit different workaround, but it's still actually possible.
Yeah. How obviously you mentioned you work, if it's film, it's multi-channel.
Yeah.
In surround. But now when with Atmos coming around the corner, there seems to be, at least in music lah.
Yeah.
At least in music, there's getting to be more and more adaptation of mixing on headphones.
Right. Understand.
Will we ever see that? In film, or it's an impossibility? It's no way.
Okay. It's a little bit impossible if your final output is really for
cinema.
Or a 5.1 system, or any immersive system that needs a subwoofer as well.
Yeah.
So mixing on headphones, you can always down mix and mix on a down mix, and then you still need to test your mix on a full setup first before you deliver it out to the client.
Right.
You can be quite bold actually in trying to so I would suggest to people who want to mix on headphones, either start your project or end your project on the 5.1 system first. So, or do like start on the 5.1 and then continue the rest of your headphones if you have to. Because what you're listening to is basically a down mix, everything put together and then into the left and right. And the LFE sometimes muted, so you would not judge your subwoofer very well. Yeah. And then maybe finalize it in 5.1 again, rent a studio or something if you have to.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you cannot take that risk of it not coming out right.
Right, exactly.
You can't take for granted that everyone only listens on headphones, and so when it people do have like consumer 5.1 and sound bars and Atmos bars out there. So you
have to make sure that it sounds right. On
and those people actually spend more money on their sound systems. If you think about it, so they actually want to justify the cost of their buying all that gear. So
the mix better be good.
Better be good. Yeah. So mixing on headphones for immersive formats, maybe not quite there yet. But actually, if you mix Dolby Atmos, you can down mix to binaural stereo. and apparently it sounds pretty good.
Apparently, yeah. You know,
So, but it's just how to judge the 5.1, the subwoofer.
still need
Still
you
need
still need it lah.
to check back on a large surround setup.
There's
before you finalize.
no way getting around that.
Yeah,
It is now lah.
unfortunately, at least now there's no way getting around it. But then not all post-production is done in surround format. Sometimes for traditional TV content, it's still just stereo. So that one you can get away with it.
Okay, yeah.
But if we just touching on that, actually, for me, one of the biggest things to get your sound, your mix sounding good, the key to it is actually is actually your monitoring. So, for example, how your room and your system. Can you trust your room and your system?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that people don't talk a lot about, and I think it's really
because it's not sexy.
It's not sexy, yeah. So for me, sometimes I refuse to work in a room that's not calibrated, for lack of a better word. Let's say a calibrated room. So I actually take a lot of effort to calibrate the rooms I work in. Even if I get there for the first time or something like that, I'll try my very best to calibrate the room to make it as neutral as possible.
Yeah.
Because when your room fights against you, you could be making changes forever.
Yeah.
Just to realize that you could transfer it to another room. It doesn't sound
like
good.
everything just falls apart.
Yeah, it falls apart. And especially if you're working on movies for cinema. Now the scale, you're working on a small room. It sounds good. You bring it to cinema. You only maybe have like 3 days to mix in the soundstage, the cinema hall sized mix room, and it sounds terrible. And you can only rent it for 3 days, and you have thousands of tracks in a 1.5 hour long movie with dialogue, music, effects, all these individual thousands and thousands of regions.
You're screwed.
You're screwed. What do you do then? Like, you can ask for more days, but at the same time, you didn't do your due diligence of making sure that where you were mixing in the first place is somewhat neutral enough for you to make good decisions. So for me, I find that it's imperative to actually neutralize your setting first. So if possible, work in a room that's a room that you can trust, that's not fighting against your frequency response or the time domain, the transient response of your mix. Basically. It's risky in stereo. It's even riskier in surround.
Exactly. The risk factor is multiplied by by a factor of 2 point something, right? Two times, you get 5.1. Two or more. But okay, that's actually a very good point as well. Yeah, getting the monitoring right. Loudness as well, right? How loud you monitor.
Yes, so for
that's also very important, right? Obviously,
for cinema, you want to be in the region of 85 dB.
Yeah.
And then for smaller rooms, pre-mix rooms we call it, which are rooms the size of, I can't remember the exact figure, but if you think about someone's large bedroom, something like that, you can actually monitor at 79 dB. Then you get lower and lower as your room gets smaller. So if you have a really small room, 79 dB might really hurt you.
Yeah. Okay.
85 dB will blow your head off possibly because of how close you must be to the speakers. Because obviously you can't go away from the speakers. Your room too small.
Yeah.
So
the ideal
triangle
position.
will stretch. So if you want to be in an ideal position, the closer you are to your speakers, the narrower it gets. The closer you are, if you're blasting at 85 dB, that's straight to your face. So
you have to adjust that accordingly to the room size, and distance
So normally you see figures like 85 for mixing movies and then 79 for broadcast.
I see. Yeah.
And everything lower, it's just because of the size of your room.
That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I kind of was a little bit late into the self-calibrating aspect of things. Now my room, if you know, right? My room is not perfect in terms of the frequency response thing. But one thing I found it so helpful is actually the calibrating my volume, by how loud I monitor.
I
so that has been so helpful because I aim for about 85.
You aim for 85.
Well, music you can afford to be a little bit louder, and we are not like hit by a lot of like transients like explosions and booms and all that. So it's not so bad.
It's not as dynamic as like explosions.
Yeah, it's more steady state throughout all the way. So I do aim for 85. And that really helps because every time I'm sitting down to mix, not even mix, even when I'm recording or tracking or doing some other work, my ears get calibrated to exactly that same level.
Nice.
Your frequency is, your Fletcher Manson, your
Yeah.
contour. It's more
It's a
flat.
consistent one for
it's
you where you can
consistent,
rely
yeah.
on it all the time.
Yeah, people, especially in when I do some of my mixing live streams, right?
Mm.
When I always point out, why is the gain staging part important? It's not really about the gain staging. Oh, trying to hit minus 18 dBFS or that lah.
Yeah.
The gain staging is also very important because it helps you to calibrate your level. For
Yeah.
me lah, at least.
Yeah, it's true because
So every time I mix, it's at that around that 85 dB
that's
level.
actually a good one. A lot of people don't actually understand why they shouldn't monitor too soft or too loud because our ears hear differently. You mentioned the Fletcher Manson curve.
Yeah.
So what it denotes is that actually the louder it gets, your lows, your highs, and your mids get more flatter as you approach towards the 85 mark. Whereas if you listen it to very low, you hear a lot of mids more than you do highs and lows.
Correct.
So
yes.
You don't have a benchmark to set to. So
research that. Google that Fletcher Manson.
Yeah, it answers a lot of your questions on why there's a fixed figure for. So if everyone mixes at that figure, then you know that at least everyone's mixing on the same level and consistency.
Same reference point. Yeah.
After that, it's about creativity and craft and skill.
Exactly. Yeah. Super cool, man. Yeah. Oh, glad we could geek out and nerd out on this stuff lah. Yeah. So, hey, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Soon. It's been super informative. I listened to your story, how you started out. Even though back then, and some of the things which I didn't even know about. This is so hilarious. The story about all the situations you face here in Singapore, different, being the engineer, being the default engineer by high emergency engineer.
Yeah,
that is so funny lah, hilarious. Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up maybe by two things. What's the current thing? Anything that you're working on? I know you have some big plans that's coming up. Real soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now I'm actually freelancing again. So I was the chief audio engineer in Supernova Media up until 2 weeks ago.
Okay, but I'm not sure when this is going to come out, but this is probably going to come in about 2 weeks lah. So
I see.
About a month. Yeah. So we try not to date. Try not to date the the podcast.
Yeah. Right. So as of 1st of March, actually, I'm a freelancer again. So actually, still at the tail end of working on about 3 or 4 movies, which I can't really disclose the names of because of
course,
NDA.
Yeah, NDA.
But really high hopes for these movies, and they'll be coming out in the year or the year after. Hopefully this year. I would like to watch them before I travel to the UK.
Yeah. And speaking of which, so you're planning to move over to UK lah? Yeah.
So that's in the works right now. More to continue my studies to do my masters.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. I'm still in the early days of planning for it. So, but I'm quite committed. I mean, I'm already committed to go.
Yes.
Just still looking for avenues. Right
exactly.
now.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. And then it's gonna be a big move. It's gonna be a big
it's
great adventure. I mean,
it's a huge leap.
You for you and your wife. Well, who is an awesome, who's an awesome musician. I remember when I first saw her, she was still a kid playing bass in the band. Yeah.
She still plays bass.
Yeah.
She surprised me as well when I learned that she plays bass. I'm like, wow, that's so awesome.
Oh, okay, we're talking about her while she's sitting out there. Very cool, man. Yeah. So those are things that's coming up lah.
Yeah.
Let's any piece of advice, closing words, especially for anyone who's listening to this.
Right.
Usually my audience is the people who listen to me are other audio engineers, students, and especially, but I want to gear it, direct it towards people who want to consider and think about this as a career lah.
Right.
Do you have any piece of advice or something?
Well, the most conventional advice would be to well, I don't have advice beyond what is normally spoken to people about trying hard, taking initiatives and stuff like that. But I always like to touch on, in terms of audio post, and actually not just in audio post, but most forms of audio, creative audio, is how well can you tell a story. I always most of the time I describe it as that.
Wow.
Because if you know if you can tell a story well, you can actually, or if you know how the devices of what makes a good story, it actually can cover a lot of aspects in audio. Because if you think about it, music is a message, is a story. A movie is a story.
Yes.
And then a script is a story. So many things are stories and messages and meaning. So one way to understand that is actually by watching. Watch movies and understand the way it's directed, and the way they tell that story from a film point of view, from an audio point of view.
Yep.
And learn it, and then you can apply it. Only after learning it can you apply it, and you can understand. So when you work with other people, that becomes a tool in your arsenal. Like, and you take that and you apply it to every aspect of sound, and suddenly how creative that determines how creative you are lah. It can contribute to that just by telling a story. Yeah.
That is beautiful, man. I really like the way that you put it. That is a good sound bite. That's a good sound bite that can edit into a short and then wow, that's really really good, man. Yeah, telling a story lah.
Yeah.
Conveying a story, yeah. Even I think, I agree with you. Even in music also, you watch the film, you listen to the song, to see what's the in context of a film, what's the director, what's the writer trying to tell you, what's the story that they're trying to tell you. When it comes to songs, when it comes to music, what's the artist?
Yeah, what
are they trying to tell you? What's the message and the meaning, the emotion that's behind it?
Yeah.
Sometimes we get too caught up with, listen to the low end on that.
Yeah,
listen
exactly.
to
It's more about gimmick, but actually, if you wanna simple as you wanna make this song sound throwbackish, like the Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak collaboration.
Yep.
What
Sonic,
they do, in terms of audio, how can you tell that story? How can you push this song back in an era before this? What the sounds are associated with that era?
Yeah.
So
the type of instruments that you use.
Maybe the lines, the runs,
exactly. So the chord progressions. Yeah.
Maybe even down to the mics they were recording with. Maybe.
Yes, exactly.
So all these decisions are based on on
all the technical considerations based in the end to serve the story lah.
Exactly.
Serve the song, serve the film.
Yeah.
That's a great piece of advice actually. Yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome, man. So let's wrap this up. Yeah, I did the last one. I did it, with Erman. And I asked him, okay, how do we wrap this up? So his expression was kita bungkus. Which is something we Malaysians can so associate with. Okay, kita bungkus saja lah. Thanks, Adrian, for doing this.
Thank you for having
all
me.
the best, for the projects that you're working on, and the next big step in life lah. Right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thanks, folks. See you again. Another video. Bye bye. Good night.
Good night.
I just said don't date it, right? So yeah, whatever.
Don't time it.